There are certain items that you simply must have as a raw feeder. In a previous video, I went over a few items that are great for meal prepping, but in this video, I'm going to go over 7 items that have personally made meal prepping a lot more convenient, and in my opinion, are definitely must-haves. Number 1, poultry shears. For a long time, I've just used plain kitchen shears to cut meat and bone, and since they work pretty well for the most part, I didn't really care to buy anything else. I've seen many raw feeders favor these shears, but since I had some nice kitchen shears, I didn't really think I needed them. It wasn't until recently when I saw some at the store and decided just to buy some to add to my collection. After getting used to them and their mechanics, I have to say I'm now hooked. They're curved to better maneuver through the animal's chest cavity, there's a hook on the blade that helps grip the bones better when you're cutting and pulling, and they're spring-loaded so they don't jam easily. I seriously can't believe I've gone this long without them. Number 2, an apron. An apron was something that I never really thought was necessary. My prep area gets messy, but I never really got anything on my clothes. But if there's one thing that I've learned from meal prepping over the years, is that sometimes the mess can get a little unpredictable. From spilling myoglobin, to cutting a raw meaty bone and a piece flinging, to cleaving a whole prey animal and juices splattering. Even though I didn't always see stuff on my shirt, something had to have gotten on it at some point. I have since been using an apron made by a friend and have fallen in love with it. I'll put a link to her Instagram in the description. Number 3, a thawing basin. I've said it in another video and I'm saying it again. I love my prep basin, and I feel like absolutely every raw feeder needs one. Bags leak, especially Ziploc bags that have been penetrated by once frozen meat. If you're thawing in your fridge overnight, the next morning you will probably wake up to your fridge dripping with myoglobin, and that's not very sanitary. Thawing in a separate bin will catch all of that myoglobin, and you can move it around anywhere. It's nifty during prep as well because it catches all of the fallen pieces of meat when you're transferring it to the prep containers. Number 4, a cooler. If you're traveling with your pet, you're going to need to bring their food. For someone who feeds dry food, this is no big deal. But for someone with raw food, this might seem a little challenging. I get a ton of questions about traveling with raw food, and it's honestly not as difficult as you think. I simply just pack a few ice packs and some ice in my cooler on top and at the bottom of the raw food containers. And that's it. We've done 10-hour drives before and the food still remained pretty frozen. Number 5, silicone molds. Silicone molds can be used for so many things when meal prepping. Some owners use them to freeze individual pieces of organ meat so they can easily pop them out and store loosely while frozen. Some owners use them to freeze portioned out liquids like bone broth or veggie mix, and some owners use them to dehydrate treats in. They're super nifty and also fun when you find ones with cute shapes. Number 6, a manual knife sharpener. When I notice my knives aren't cutting as well, I've always used granite blocks or sandpaper. While these are great ways to sharpen knives, it's a bit more laborious. I then bought a manual knife sharpener with a diamond sharpener built in, and it really sped things up. I also love that it has 3 stages, one for realigning any small bends in the knife, one for refining the sharpness, and one for buffing the blade. It used to take me around 3 to 5 minutes to sharpen my knives, but this takes me maybe a minute. Number 7, a meat mallet. A mallet or meat tenderizer is actually a pretty helpful tool when you have a small or young pet that isn't sure about crunching down on meaty bones just yet. I use this tool all the time when feeding tangy raw meaty bones as a kitten. Smashing small poultry and rabbit bones made it soft enough to be able to bite down on, but still firm enough to teach them to chew. Watch this video for a list of beginner items if you're just starting out with raw feeding.